Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend, Mr. Stephen Dow from Velocity Mortgage. How you doing, buddy?
I'm fantastic. And yourself, sir?
I'm doing very, very well. What I want to have this conversation about is the lending environment. We got big bank earnings today: Citigroup, Morgan
Mhm,
Stanley, Wells Fargo,
mhm.
J.P. Morgan. We saw some loan loss reserves, so we're just gonna talk about big banks. But before we do that marketing spiel, so you and I don't get in trouble.
Yep. Again, I thought you might have forgotten. Anyway, although I work very happily for Velocity Mortgage Capital, all the ideas and topics discussed on this channel are that of my own. So let's get it going.
So what I want to talk about here, because again, you have been in the lending industry for the better part of 20 years, right? You've been
Right.
through many ups and downs, and many
Many
companies come,
cycles.
yeah, many
Mhm.
cycles, companies come and go. There are signs in the industry that I've been pointing out in my daily financial news that lenders are getting nervous.
Oh,
How do you
yeah.
know, or how do I see that lenders are getting nervous? First, they have loan loss reserves, right? When a bank thinks their loans could go bad, like
Yep.
JP Morgan, $808 million, Wells Fargo, 734 million. They take these reserves and they basically
Right.
put it over there and say, hey, this is where
Insurance money.
it's insurance money, right? For potentially bad debt. They don't do
Right.
that in the good times. They do
No.
that in scary times.
Right.
And then second, the other thing I saw earlier in the week that really was eye-opening is credit availability.
Hmm.
9-year low and going lower. So
Yes.
again, even though banks like JP Morgan and Wells Fargo are reporting huge interest income, because again, they're
Hmm.
paying nothing on savings and now they're earning 3% or whatever it is, and um, overnight rates with the Fed, it's wild, man. Because again, I don't think people realize that when banks get scared, they just pull back. They may not officially say no, but they're going to make
Right.
the box so small that nobody fits in it, right?
Right. Or
So
very
just
little.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like if you're like
Perfect cookie cutter.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk
Yeah.
about banks getting nervous because again, they're like human beings. They can
Mhm.
get aggressive and nervous, and it moves all the time.
Right. Well, I mean, I think I can't speak for every lender, but from the normal standpoint, is that most lenders, their business models, they have to sell that loan ultimately. Most of them don't, service their loans, and so if they don't have a place to sell them or nobody's buying, then they're either going to have to retract, slow down, or altogether change their product, or maybe even hit pause, or even close their doors. Such as several lenders that had closed this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the market's changing just because ultimately Wall Street's not buying, this type of paper anymore, or taking this type of risk. So there's a lot of different influences, bond market, things of that nature. So what I did definitely see, though, I came back from the National Association of Mortgage Brokers convention last week.
Yeah.
Um, there was a noticeable kind of like tension. It felt like somewhere in the air as far as like just uncertainty, because there's
Mhm.
a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, we'll see how it all plays out, but definitely there's going to be some tightening on
Yeah.
credit. Um,
Well, again, these are just my opinions, right? That
yeah.
the lending industry, we've already seen some carnage, right?
Hmm.
Rifts, layoffs, and companies like I think it was Sprout that out of nowhere went belly up
Yep.
months ago. I think the
Hmm.
lending industry is going to the pain's not over,
Hmm.
unfortunately. We will get to a point where it bottoms out, right? I think
Hmm.
Black Knight was talking about one of their analysts on CNBC with Dion the other day, I believe,
Hmm.
talking about the mortgage industry, it's going to find a bottom soon, right? Because we're going to still do loans,
Right.
right? It's just not going to be 7 million loans. It'll be 3.5 or whatever it is.
Right.
And
Right.
then, we're going to build a base on that. And then, it will turn around. But in the meantime, the reason I like working with Velocity is you're a public company, you report numbers, your cash position,
Hmm.
just it's you. If I was an investor today, I want to make sure that my provider, which, for me, Velocity is one of them, is going to be there when I need them, right? When I get a deal together, I need to know that, the person I work with will fund. And I'm
Right.
hearing more and more investors from across the country get a deal, get it locked up, and then their lender ghosts them or can't fund or create some stupid clause to weasel out of a deal. And I think a lot
Pretty
of that is
much.
going on because, I think a lot of lenders, again, my opinion, not yours,
Hmm.
don't run good businesses, right? Because again, a lender's business is to create loans and then sell them, and they make the spread.
Right.
If you've been conditioned to sell to Fannie Mae, which was buying everything, seemingly last year, now they're not. Your
Right.
whole overhead business model systems is broken.
Right.
It's probably too fat, and now you're losing money, and you're a zombie. I mean, I think there's some zombie lenders out there. That's my word, not yours. But
Right.
I don't know. I think the lending landscape is going to go through there's still pain to be had. What do you think?
Agreed. Again, what I noticed at the conference is that there's a lot of smaller lenders that were pretty much selling the same vanilla kind of stuff because there was no more action in the conventional side because rates had jumped up so quickly and so high, and so they all just pivoted to bank statement programs or
Yeah.
DSCR type stuff. But with even those, with rates jumping up so quickly in that in those arenas as well, most people aren't going to qualify for those loans as well.
Yeah.
So that's where even if you have a product that you're trying to sell, but if people just can't qualify it as well because their incomes haven't jumped up or their bank statements haven't jumped up that quickly in that short period of time, you're going to get less business as well. So they're in trouble. I mean, the key for us is that we have a specific kind of specialty product, even in the world of non-QM where
Yeah.
it's stated income. We don't have the DSCR ratio requirement on residential, and even on commercial, it's only above a certain loan amount. So
Right.
ours is a little bit kind of different where, like I said, when all else fails, come see Uncle Steve, because that's really where it's at.
Well, the other thing that I think is important, again, I'm always trying to look at current data with past experience, but I'm trying to predict the future. You and
Right.
I created or basically took the Swiss Army knife that is velocity and created the 50-40-10.
Right.
Right. Matt, the lumberjack landlord, just closed a deal using the
Yep.
50-40-10.
Shout out to Matt.
It is something I look forward to using, right? Whether I'm basically doing two things. I did a video this morning talking to listing agents saying, get more
Mhm.
creative, start servicing your clients, right? I'm
Mhm.
going to go for 90% seller financing if it makes sense, or I'm going to do the 50-40-10. Those are the only deals I'm doing
Right.
because I want to only use 10% cash. That's all I'm willing to commit to a deal.
Mhm.
And I'm going to get below rates, right? Everybody out there is paying 7s and 8s and 9s. Good old Zuber is going to get a blended rate sub 5.
Right.
I don't know. I know what game you all are playing, but I'm going to get sub 5. You all are
Right.
crazy. So
Right.
again, I know I'm in a lucky position. I could be very selective, and I'm
Hmm.
more creative than most, but without
Hmm.
velocity, I can't do these 50-40-10s. And that's even if I have to pay, 8.99, 9.5, whatever it is. I just
Right.
get the seller to give me a 1 or 2 on the other 40%. Bingo, bango, I'm
Right.
sub 5. So
Right.
it's so powerful to be working with somebody who I know is going to be there.
It is, and it took a little time to kind of marinate, I think, with some people, just so they could really understand conceptually what we're saying. Because when we say it, it sounds so easy, but it's kind of hard to keep up a little bit. How'd you get the blended weight? What do you mean? How'd you get in the 4s? What are you talking about? So I think when you have to kind of break it down, then okay, that makes sense. But once they get that epiphany, that little light bulb goes off, it's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
oh yeah, okay, now it's like, now I got this tool. Let me see how I can apply this tool to all these different, possible opportunities. So yeah, it's been fun. I mean, it's gotten my creative juices going again because you have to kind of really think outside the box a little bit. Like, okay, it didn't cash flow at this offer, but if we could structure it this way, and if the seller's willing to kind of meet you halfway and carry it at this, we can make this all work.
You know what? We're going to do second video is going to be us. We've done this before, but there's a lot of new
Hmm.
folks on the channel. We're going to
Okay.
we're going to build a spreadsheet from scratch to show you how to do a blended rate. So before we do that, Steve, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and get a deal going because they
Right.
know you're going to provide it, how do they do that?
Well, first off, you should probably get some coffee before we shoot the second video, so we won't be having some of these verbal disturbances.
Yeah,
and
stutters.
second, and secondly, just email me SDAO. That's S for Steve and then last name DAO at velocitymortgage.com. In the subject line, just the acronym ORAAT, which stands for one rental at a time. The body of the email, brief description, maybe what you're looking for. Address would be great. Maybe city and state where you're looking to lend in, just to make sure we lend there. Mid FICO score would be helpful. And then the best phone number to reach at, and typically 24, 48 hours, I'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.